Here are 5 things to remember about Ginny and Georgia Season 2.
Ginny is camped out at Zion's and having nightmares that Georgia wants to smother her with a pillow.
Things are tense between Ginny and Georgia, and Paul thinks it's because he's moving in. Georgia can tell that that's not the reason, but she's not quite sure what is, until she realizes Ginny knows.
Checkmate, Mom.
Horrified that her daughter knows about the monster inside her, Georgia opens up to Ginny and explains why she did what she did and why she has no remorse.
It's the kind of honesty Ginny always wanted from Georgia, but it's still hard to swallow. To add to her stress, at school, Ginny is being iced out by Max. But Abby is also being shunned, so at least they're outcasts together. Ginny also grows closer to Bracia, who's one of the few other black kids at Wellsbury. Bracia understands Ginny's experience in ways many other people in her life don't, and she's a welcome confidant.
Ginny starts seeing Marcus more regularly. Even though their secret is out to their friends, they're still sneaking around, until Georgia catches Marcus hiding in Ginny's closet. Georgia thinks Marcus is a good man, well, boy, but she sees a fellow damaged kid in him and makes him promise not to hold Ginny back from her dreams. Max gets jealous of the fun Ginny, Abby, and Marcus are all having without her and breaks her silent treatment by confronting Ginny at school. Max's whole take on the drama changes when she learns that Ginny and Marcus weren't hooking up carelessly. They're in love.
Honestly, Ginny doesn't have a ton of capacity for other people's problems. She's still hung up on the fact that her mom is a murderer and that Georgia killed Kenny to protect her. The guilt weighs on her, and since she can't even tell her therapist about it,
So Georgia learns that Zion has a new girlfriend, which is crazy because no one's allowed to get over Georgia, even if she's engaged. Then Austin's dad shows up to Wellsbury to worm his scuzzy little way into Austin's life. Georgia had good reason to keep Gil away from her family. He's an abusive dick, and he's trying to blackmail Georgia into giving him some of Paul's money in exchange for his silence about her rocky past.
that's not all. Georgia finds Ginny's diary and is heartbroken to learn that Ginny has been self-harming and that Zion kept it from her. Georgia goes to a therapy session with Ginny and is asked to consider some hard truths, like how her fierce ways of loving Ginny have sometimes hurt her.
I don't like this.
At the same time, Marcus is distancing himself, and Ginny admits she's afraid he doesn't want to be with her. Marcus tells her he doesn't want to leave, but he also doesn't want to hold her back. What Ginny doesn't know is that Marcus has been slipping into depression and barely holding himself together for a while now. The truth is, Marcus can't care for himself, much less be in a relationship.
Ginny's not the only one with the romance blues. As Georgia and Paul make the rounds of Wellsbury as a newly engaged couple, Georgia can't help but notice that Joe seems off. And it's not because he's spending more time with Cynthia, who has gone from Georgia's nemesis to ally to maybe even friend. When Cynthia learns that Gil was abusive to Georgia, Cynthia does Georgia a solid by making it impossible for Gil to rent an apartment in Wellsbury. Georgia feels for Cynthia, who is caring for her son Zach alone while her husband is slowly dying. So while Cynthia isn't looking, Georgia gives her 2 helping hands, at least. That's how Georgia sees it. Someone who might see it another way is Austin, who witnesses the whole thing.
When Georgia gets home, Joe visits and they have the conversation they'd been avoiding since she first arrived. Georgia acknowledges she was the girl from the rest stop, and Joe confesses his feelings for her. He asks her point blank if she's ever thought about the 2 of them getting together. But she's getting married to Paul. She gets vulnerable and confesses to Paul that she's been a hustler and a criminal her whole life, just leaving out the murder parts. She's fully ready for him to break off the wedding and have her arrested, but instead, he stands by her side and stands up for her like her real knight in shining armor. Georgia and Paul get married in front of pretty much all of Wellsbury. It's gorgeous, right out of Georgia's dreams. Until the wedding becomes a nightmare when uninvited guests crash in the most dramatic way. Tipped off by P.I. Gabriel, who suspects Georgia of killing Cynthia's husband, the police show up and arrest Georgia during her first dance with Paul.
Deeply unnecessary and dramatic. And that's how season 2 ends.